Okay, for experiment 3, there is a couple of calculations that are different, but you do the same thing for each trial. So this is for the first trial, which was the mass of beaker with just water. You collected the mass of the beaker with the water. So for the ones with vinegar, you would just do the mass of the beaker plus water plus vinegar. And then you had the mass of the individual antacid tablets, and they should be similar for all of them, but you should have gotten a mass for each individual tablet. And then also this mass of water plus vinegar should be the same for all of the trials. Not exactly the same, but it should be measured for each trial. And then you would have collected a mass of the beaker after the CO2 evolved. And then to determine the mass of just the carbon dioxide, you would take the mass of the beaker with all of the contents plus the tablets and everything, and then subtract the mass of the empty beaker plus the mass of the tablet. And in this case, when I do the calculation, I get 0.972 grams. And this is all subtraction. My significant figures here is based on the number of decimal places. So this would be 3 decimal places, so I get 3 decimal places here. So my significant, or my value will have 3 sig figs. Okay, so to determine the mass of sodium bicarbonate, we have to use stoichiometry. So for the reaction, we have C6H8O7 plus 3 NaHCO3, that gives 3 waters, plus 3 CO2, plus NaC6H5O7. Okay, so we're going from carbon dioxide to sodium carbonate, or sodium bicarbonate, and this has a 3:3 ratio, so we can use that in our coefficient. So when we're doing the reactions, what we're going to be doing, and this is in your lab manual, I'm just going to point this out here, is we have grams of A, so for us this is grams of CO2. So we're going to go through, get moles of CO2, using the molecular weight of CO2, the MW of CO2 here, and that's per 1 mole of CO2. And then we're going to convert to the NaHCO3. So this will also be NaHCO3. And then use the molecular weight of B to get grams of B. So this is what we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to start with 0.972 grams, and I find it really helpful to indicate, well, first label your unit so you know what you're doing, and this is grams of CO2. And this is for 1 mole of CO2, it's 44.01 grams of CO2. And then we're going to use the reaction coefficient. So this right here is the reaction coefficient. So that's moles of bicarbonate to moles of carbon dioxide. And I am also trying to get rid of the grams of carbon dioxide. So here I need to get rid of moles of CO2. So this would be 3 moles of CO2. That's per 3 moles of NaHCO3. And then that gives us, I'm just going to cross these out here in different colors so you can see. So grams of CO2 now has been converted to moles of CO2. And then we're going to go from moles of CO2 to grams of, moles of NaHCO3, and then these 3's cancel out. And now to get to grams of a sodium bicarbonate, the molecular weight is 84.007 grams of NaHCO3. And that's for every 1 mole of NaHCO3. So when you do this calculation, again, the moles of bicarb cancel out. So again, when you have all of these units here and what they are grams of or moles of, it makes it a lot easier to see what's going on. So this value will be 1.856 grams of NaHCO3. All right, the next calculation is for number 9, and that's calculating the percent by mass. And you would do that from the mass of this. So this would be mass of NaHCO3 divided by mass of tablet. times 100. So for us, that would be 1.85 grams. I'm just going back here. I have 3 sig figs here. This is multiplication division, so we get 3 sig figs on the end. That's 1.85 grams. So the mass of the tablet to start with was 3.276 grams. Grab a calculator quick. So this comes to 56.5% percent by mass. So again, for each of the measurements, you'd have, so for part B, you would have the mass of beaker plus 5 mils of vinegar and 30 mils of water, but the calculations are going to be the same for all of the things here. So you'll have to go from your grams of CO2 after you calculate that for each one, and then to figure out the grams of bicarbonate, and then do the percent mass, and then you'll end up graphing that in a graph.